I know it's been a little while since we talked last, but I'm here to give you a little bit of an update on how things have been going with me so far in med school, and to just kind of tell you a few things that I wish I had known. Okay, so how have things been going since we last talked? Well, I had a second surgery on my ankle. We had a world pandemic, and I started my second year of med school. It's been a little bit of an interesting ride, and I am trying to get my footing and my schedule and how I'm going to attack this next year. But my first block, which was neuro, was a little bit difficult, a little stressful, but it wasn't as emotionally and physically taxing as my previous units have been. So I think that I might be getting better about this, but who knows? We'll see. I wanted to also mention that I'm still working on my research project, and we submitted the paper, and I hopefully will be able to get that out to everybody soon so that you guys can see the kind of work I did for my last big project of graduate school. So that's to come, and I will update you on that later. So what did I really want to talk to you about today? I wanted to bring to you guys your attention to just some things that I wish I had known coming into medical school, or just kind of general information that I thought would be interesting about physiology. And I wanted to kind of tackle the subject of blue babies. Now, what does this mean? Well, blue babies is really looking at when babies are born, they come out with certain congenital problems that make them look blue. And this is due to the deoxygenated blood that is circulating through their system because their circulatory system in their heart is not quite meeting up. So there are about 5 different scenarios where we get blue baby syndrome. Okay, so let's talk about the first syndrome. The first syndrome is Trunctus Arteriousus. And this is when your pulmonary artery and your aortic artery are kind of fused together in one big vessel. And you can imagine that's not a very good thing. You have the blood coming in from the body that has been used up, coming through your veins, and you have the blood that's been oxygenated by your lungs, and they're all going through the same tube. Then you get a mixing of the good oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. And that mixing allows for some of the blue deoxygenated blood to go through your body. And that blood isn't really helpful because it's not providing the oxygen that your body needs. So we have treatments for this, and this treatment is surgery. I looked at a study, and the study that was taken from surgeries that had this defect from about 2009 and 2016, it had about a good prognosis for the surgery. Although 20% of the patients, and about 200 or so in the study, found that there were some severe complications, or the results from that turned out to be bad. The patients didn't survive. So that's a little sad. So, number 2. We have transposition of the great vessels. This is when your 2 vessels, your pulmonary and your aorta, are switched. The blood coming in from the body is going up the aorta, and the blood that has been carried in from your lungs are going to your pulmonary. This isn't really good. You are not able to circulate the blood coming in from the body to your lungs. It's sending it right back to your body. And the blood that's coming from your lungs are being circulated back into the lungs. So you have these 2 closed systems. Now, this would generally be lethal if there aren't little shunts, or what we call holes in the body that allow for blood to kind of bypass these vessels and get to where they need to go. And you can have a shunt in the atria, which is an ASD, or you can have a shunt in the ventricles, which is a VSD. So if you have those 2, then the patient would likely do well. We have found that when you take these vessels and you switch them back through surgery, there's a really good prognosis where about 82% of these patients live after 10 years, and about 97 of them live after 25 years. Number 3, tricuspid atresia. And you know when you listen to your heart sounds, you hear that lub, dub, lub, dub? The lub is when your tricuspid valve and your bicuspid valve are closing up. When you don't have a working tricuspid valve and it doesn't open up and close the way it's supposed to, we call that tricuspid atresia. And the blood cannot get into the heart. This is not good. And this will not be compatible with life unless there is a hole, again, through the atria and another hole through the ventricles to allow another path of the blood to go through. Now, this can be conducted with surgery, and there have been good results from those as well. So now we're doing the most popular cyanotic syndrome found in babies, and that is Tetrology of Fallot. Now, some of you guys might have seen a movie that came back in, I think it was 2004, Something the Lord Made. And this was a really interesting movie because it showed Vivian Thomas, which was a surgical assistant who worked and developed the treatment to cure these babies that had the cyanotic syndrome. And the problem with that is racism got in the way, and it was difficult for him to really excel and really be shown the fruits of his labor and his study because of the social obstacles that Vivian had. But ultimately, he was recognized for his work now, and he did have some success in teaching later on. So, what is Tetralogy of Fallot? Well, Tetralogy of Fallot is when you take your pulmonary artery and you stiffen it up. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you take your aorta and you shift it all the way over into the other ventricles. So we call that an overriding aorta. And so now your aorta is now covering an influx of blood from both right and left ventricles. The third thing for Tetralogy of Fallot is when your right ventricle is hypertrophied. And it's just kind of really thick and really strong. And it's a little too strong for its own good. But that's another symptom of Tetralogy of Fallot. Fourth thing about Tetralogy of Fallot is when you have a VSD. And that's when you have a hole coming from your left ventricle to your right ventricle. And that will allow the blood to continue to circulate past. But the problem with that is when your aorta is now taking blood in from your right ventricle, where the blue deoxygenated blood is, it's shooting it right outside. And when that happens, you're going to get blue baby syndrome. Now, the fifth congenital anomaly that we see when babies turn blue is what we call total anomalous pulmonary venous return. And that is when you shoot out your blood into your lungs, but it doesn't go all the way to your lungs. It comes right back to your heart. So you have the circular back motion coming from your heart to your lungs and heart into your lungs. And that's not good at all. We definitely need surgery to fix those two things. All right. So this has just been a quick debrief on something I learned in med school that I thought was really interesting, and I thought you guys might want to know as well. If you have any questions or you want me to talk about a different topic, I will be sure to do that. Please leave comments, subscribe, and like, and I appreciate you guys for sticking with me and follow me through this process as I become a medical physician. Thank you very much, and till next time.